The good news is this: most of the mistakes you're making in sales are entirely avoidable. The bad news is you're gonna have to swallow your pride to stop making them.
The most valuable resource that all of us have is time. We just don't want retention issues. I'm so thankful. People don't quit their jobs, they quit their boss. Try and help others see the best version of themselves.
We're going to talk today about 3 simple sales mistakes that most of us are making and don't even realize it. I'm going to break it up into 3 chapters. Chapter 1, how are you considering your career path? This is a serious question. Chapter 2, what is it that you're driven by? The desire to help others or the desire to make a commission check? Big question, and we're going to tackle that together. And then number 3, do you have a strategy for the no? And this is where we're going to get very tactical, and I would highly advise you to grab a piece of pen and a paper for the 3rd chapter specifically. Let's talk about number 1. Why did you take a career in sales? And do you have an exit strategy for your career in sales? This is something that I hear quite often as I've coached tens of thousands of sales reps and thousands of sales managers. I still hear to this day this term: yeah, I'm just gonna be in sales for a while and test the waters and kind of see how things go. The question that I have to those people, kind of a tough one, and they really don't like it when I ask them: do you think a pilot would just be testing the waters on flying school, or a dentist just be testing the water on medical school? You have to understand that a career in sales is actually a really great career to have, and if you perceive it as something that isn't prestigious or noble, then maybe you didn't choose the right career. But at the end of the day, a career in sales is actually really awesome, and you have to take it extremely seriously. You need to read books, you need to subscribe to podcasts, you need to seek advice, and you need to get your heart and your head completely in the game in order to be successful. I know this sounds crazy, but the number 1 reason salespeople don't succeed in their role is because their heart isn't entirely in it. There's this notion that salespeople are slimy and shysty, and yes, I do believe that there are still a ton of people who act that way. Most of us who have seen Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room one too many times. And no, you never want to be that type of salesperson. In fact, those of us who see those movies as the how-to guide on being in sales should probably start seeing those movies as the how not to in terms of being in sales. You never want to be shysty or slimy or a liar. You want to be honest, forthcoming, and have a moral compass when it comes to this thing. If you got into sales with this idea in your mind that there's a backup option for something else, or maybe after a year or 2 I'll go back to doing whatever it is that I went to school for, that unfortunately is not the right mindset to have. As long as you have an out in your mind, you're never going to be fully committed. Just like in any relationship, you wouldn't get into a marriage just to have somebody else that you might fall back to one day, right? At least I hope. Number 2, what type of mentality drives you? This is an important question to ask yourself, and maybe give yourself a little pop quiz right now. If I'm your client and I'm about to buy something from you, or considering buying something from you, do I perceive this sale as something that's going to help me and potentially my business and my team? Or do I perceive this sale as something that's going to help you make additional money in your commission check? It's a really hard question, and it's a really important gut check moment. The client senses that you are out to make a commission check. They will never buy anything from you. They have a 6th sense for this sort of thing, and they will spot a phony right away. But the moment they start realizing that you are out to help them, it doesn't matter what you're selling. If the client believes that it's going to help their business and your intentions are to help their business, then they will give you all the money in the world because they trust you as a consultant. The client needs to feel that you are going to be there for them long term, not just that you're going to sign them up, get their credit card or whatever billing information, and then just walk out the door, never to be heard from again. There's a term that I like to practice, and I think it has helped me earn the respect and the trust of my clients long term. And it sounds like this: at the risk of losing your business. And then usually follow it up with something that's entirely honest. And yes, you might lose their business by saying that statement, but as long as you're practicing and preaching truth, then people will respect you a lot more. If you start making false promises, you're gonna find yourself in a world of hurt because this client will turn off their campaign. And not only that, they will never come back to you. So you want to build long, trustworthy relationships, and you want to be honest about what's about to happen next. Never ever over embellish the relationship you're about to get into. If somebody asks you a question and you don't know the answer, or the answer that is the truth is not the answer that the client wants to hear, tell them. It's possible that they will still buy from you because they're not buying the logical data that you're selling. They're buying the relationship that they're about to enter with you. The product has little to nothing to do with why someone is purchasing from you. I don't buy people's products. I buy people's advice. The stronger they are at giving advice, the more honest they are with their advice, the more I feel comfortable in buying something from them, because it was never the product that I bought to begin with. It was the relationship that I'm buying. I'd like to look back 5 or 10 years from now and say, I bought something from you and you treated me really well. So again, another really interesting but difficult gut check moment. Do you have relationships that are long lasting with your clients? Of the last 10 people that bought something from you, how many are you on really good terms with? Finally, the third point is, what happens when you hear a no? Do you actually have a strategy for the no? This completely baffles me still to this day. I've worked in sales for over 20 years and I still see salespeople who are not prepared for the no, which is funny and borderline crazy to me because it is the most common response. And yet we still act surprised when we hear a no. And we certainly act surprised when we hear something like, let me think about it. You and your team should have a let me think about it strategy. You should have a scripted response or no. And yet we get emotionally involved when we hear a no or let me think about it. I still hear this response to let me think about it. Well, what is it that you have to think about? That might be the single worst response to that objection, because all it is telling the customer is that you haven't heard a thing they've said in the last 20, 30 minutes or an hour-long consultation. Never, ever respond with what is it that you have to think about. You should have a strategy. For starters, maybe you've presented your client with 2 or 3 options during your consultation. If they say, let me think about it, you have earned the right to ask, when you say, let me think about it, are you saying which product that I've presented with you are you thinking about? Or are you thinking about whether or not this is a good fit for your business? Now, at the very least, you've presented your client with something else to respond with other than just, well, I just want to think about it. Give them something to help them open their minds to that question. Let me think about it as a brush off. It's time we accept that as the reality. But just because it's a brush off doesn't mean it's the final straw of your campaign. There can still be further conversation. The other thing almost all salespeople are not doing right now, which really pains me in the world of sales, is the complete and utter lack of ownership. Whenever someone tells me no, I take a little breath, I pause for about 2 seconds, and then I have to accept the fact that I didn't do the job I thought I was doing on this particular pitch or demo or consultation. If I set an appointment with someone and they agreed to that appointment and they showed up to that appointment, there is something within that client that is interested in my product. If they say no or let me think about it at the end of that pitch, then it's not their fault, it's my fault, and I have to take ownership there. So there are a few questions that you can ask when you hear a no or let me think about it. You can start by saying, hey, I feel like there's something that I might have left on the table. Maybe you can give me some feedback. I feel like you took this call today because you were hoping to get something good out of it. If the answer is no, then certainly not your fault, it's mine, but help me get better in my role so that I know exactly what it is that was missing for you. That's a really hard thing to say to somebody, isn't it? Do you know why? Because it requires you swallowing your pride for a moment. I said at the beginning of this video, the majority of the problems that we face in sales are not strategic. They have to do with swallowing our pride. If you approach a conversation from an emotional standpoint, you're going to fail emotionally. If you're going to approach a conversation from a tactical, strategic standpoint, you will close a lot more sales. And finally, even if you do still hear the no, and you've asked for clarification on what is it that they have to think about in terms of the product or the timeline, if you actually went out and got specifics, and then you still asked for feedback on things that you could be doing better, and you can even say, hey, most people that I talk to about this product end up being really excited about it. If you're not excited about the product, again, that's not your fault, it's mine, but I would like to understand what it is that's missing for you. Say it just like that with a smile on your face. Be genuine in seeking feedback. If you're fake in seeking feedback, again, the client will see right through you and they will see you as somebody who's only out to make a commission check, and then your sale is dead. But even if all those things fall into place and none of them end up getting you the sale, just because the call ended today or the consultation or the demo ended today doesn't mean that sale ended forever. Leave yourself out. Ask for permission or or someone's blessing to continue to pursue them. And ask it just like that. Hey, is it okay if I continue to pay attention to your account? Is it okay if something comes up on your account that is intriguing to me and potentially you? Do you mind if I give you a call again to educate you on that? No one's gonna say no to that because your intentions are to help and it's not threatening to them in any way. Now, if something exciting does happen on their account and you are paying attention to it, give them a call a few days later or a few weeks later, but never just close out this opportunity with an absolute no. There is no such thing as an absolute no. There's only a temporary no.
Hi there. If you like my content, subscribe. It's really, really easy. See that guy right there? This guy? Click on his face. Hopefully you love my content. Hopefully you want more of it. The best compliment you could pay is to hit the like button, comment, and I promise to continue to put out good material for you.